that one such fundamental issue is the promise by the rich countries to play their part and help the countries that contribute the least in greenhouse gas emissions into adaptation. Because of the failure to translate the promises into reality, Africa as a continent still has challenges with access to some of the climate finance sources, such as the Green Climate Fund, Global Environment Facility, Least Developing Countries Fund, Adaptation Fund, Climate Investment Funds, as well as the bilateral and multilateral development partners, which are all well-established avenues for accessing climate finance. Consequently, Africa can only access 4% of the climate finances, which is way below the impactful finance. With the rapid urbanization of our continent and the development trajectory, Africa has an opportunity to chart its own pathways, which will ensure that African cities adapt to climate challenges. Because Africa is urbanizing fairly rapidly now. But urbanization is a global phenomenon. Even in Europe, urbanized. European society was also fairly rural. Through after the Industrial Revolution, that rural and urban migration started. And it was not forced. It came gradually. But eventually they planned it and they managed to manage their cities well. Here, at independence, new leadership in the continent was completely ignorant of what was going to happen. Immediately after independence in this country, there was rural-urban migration in the 60s. People were coming to the cities. But then the government at that time asked people to go back to land. There was an order by the head of state then that people go back to the land. Rudi mashambani in Swahili. Even songs were coined. Mzee kasema rudi mashambani hakuna kazi. Mzee kasema rudi mashambani hakuna kazi. People went back to the mashamba. They had nothing useful to do. Started again gradually coming back into the cities. But because the government believed that the order was going to be obeyed, there was no planning to respond to this rural-urban migration. People coming up and started putting up temporary shelters to live in. These shelters eventually grew up and they are now christened informal settlements. Read slums. That is how slums begin to grow in most of our urban areas. Today, as we sit here, over 60% of the population you see on the streets there in Nairobi, those who are not Kenyans, live in slums today. Those are unplanned settlements where there are no sanitation, there are no roads, there's no electricity, there's no water. In some of those sanitation habitations, the courts have said there's no toilets. There's what they call the flying toilet. The flying toilet is somebody goes, relieves himself in a newspaper, then throws it away. If you are unfortunate to be passing by, that's what greets you. So these are some of the things that we need to deal with on the continent. This is how serious the situation is. As we host the 10th special session of the African Ministerial Conference on Environment, that's in Abidjan, the African Urban Forums at Addis Ababa, and the World Urban Forum in Cairo, all happening in the last part of this year. We are encouraged to focus our energy and priority on building resilience through key programs, notably financing locally led climate actions and building climate resilience of the urban poor. This will have great potential for both